Hi everybody and welcome back. Today's story is unbelievable. Seriously, I still cannot believe this man thought he would get away with it, because today's husband did not just cheat. Oh no, that would have been too simple. This man built an entire second family in secret. Another woman, another house, even children. And his wife had absolutely no idea. Until one random Thursday night changed everything. So our narrator is a 32-year-old woman named Emily. She lives in Ohio. Small suburb, quiet neighborhood. The kind where everybody waves at each other while pretending they are not judging your lawn. Emily had been married to her husband Daniel for almost 9 years. And honestly, their relationship looked normal from the outside. They had a decent house, 2 cars, shared bills, weekend barbecues, vacation photos on Facebook, the whole picture perfect thing. Daniel worked in commercial insurance. Office job, nothing glamorous. He wore button-ups every day, complained about spreadsheets constantly, drank coffee like it was oxygen. Emily worked remotely as a graphic designer, so she spent most days at home. At first, their marriage felt solid. Not perfect, but stable. And after nearly a decade together, stability starts feeling like love sometimes. That is important later, because when things finally fell apart, Emily kept blaming herself for missing the signs. The late nights started slowly. At first it was once every couple weeks, then once every week. Then suddenly Daniel was working late almost every night. Every single excuse sounded reasonable. Quarterly reports, client meetings, corporate restructuring. I'm exhausted, please don't start. That last sentence became his favorite. Please don't start. Every time she asked a question, he acted annoyed. Not nervous, not guilty. Annoyed, like she was the problem. And honestly, that messes with your head. Because when somebody acts calm enough, you start wondering if you are crazy. Emily said she ignored the feeling for months. Months. Even though her stomach kept twisting every night he walked through that front door smelling freshly showered. That detail haunted her later. Because why would somebody shower after work before coming home? But she pushed the thought away. Daniel always had an explanation ready. Always. Then little things started piling up. Tiny things. Things that seemed meaningless alone. He changed his phone password, started taking calls outside, turned his screen away constantly. He also became weirdly protective of his car. One night, Emily borrowed it to grab groceries. Daniel nearly sprinted outside barefoot. No, I'll go. She remembered standing there frozen while he grabbed the keys from her hand. And suddenly she felt it. That horrible feeling. The one people try talking themselves out of. Something was wrong. Seriously wrong. But she still was not prepared for what she would discover next. Because one Friday night, Daniel kissed her forehead, grabbed his laptop bag, claimed he had another late meeting downtown, and Emily decided to follow him. Worst decision of her life, or maybe the best. Emily almost backed out 3 different times. That is the part people do not understand about situations like this. You want proof, but you also do not want proof, because suspicion still leaves room for hope. Proof destroys everything. She waited almost 10 minutes after Daniel left the house. Then she grabbed her keys, threw on a hoodie, and climbed into her car with shaking hands. It was raining lightly outside, the kind of cold drizzle that makes roads shine orange under streetlights. Daniel's black SUV stayed about 4 cars ahead of her the entire drive. At first, everything looked normal. He drove toward downtown exactly like he always claimed. Emily actually felt stupid for a second. She remembered gripping the steering wheel and thinking, great, now I look insane. Then Daniel suddenly took an exit. Not toward downtown, toward the suburbs outside the city. Emily's stomach dropped immediately, because he never mentioned clients out there. Never. She kept following him carefully. Every red light felt unbearable. Every turn made her chest tighter. And then Daniel pulled into a neighborhood, a quiet neighborhood. Families, swing sets, basketball hoops in driveways. Emily felt cold all over, because deep down, women know. Sometimes your body understands the truth before your brain catches up. Daniel parked outside a small blue house. Not fancy, but lived in. Warm porch lights, flower pots near the steps, children's bikes laying near the garage. And then Emily saw the front door open. A woman walked outside smiling. Blonde hair, R-size sweater, barefoot, comfortable, way too comfortable. Emily froze inside her car. The woman walked directly toward Daniel, then kissed him, not quickly either. This was not some affair kiss. This was routine, familiar, domestic, like they had done it 1,000 times before. Emily said her entire body went numb, actually numb. She could not even feel her fingers anymore. And somehow it got worse, because 2 little kids suddenly came running outside screaming, "Daddy, Daddy," not Uncle Daniel, not Mr. Whatever. "Daddy." The little boy wrapped around Daniel's leg while the younger girl jumped into his arms laughing. And Daniel looked happy. That was the part that shattered her. Not guilty, not stressed, happy, like this was his real life. Emily started crying instantly, silent crying at first, then ugly crying, the kind where you cannot breathe properly, because suddenly every late night made sense, every missing weekend, every unexplained expense, every shower before coming home. This man had not just been cheating, he had another family, a whole second life. And Emily had absolutely no idea. She sat there for almost 20 minutes waiting, ching them through the rain. Daniel carried the little girl inside. The blonde woman wrapped her arm around his waist. Then the door closed, like a normal family ending their normal evening. Meanwhile, Emily's entire marriage had just exploded inside that parked car. And here is the worst part. She still was not done learning the truth, not even close. Because once Emily started digging deeper, she realized Daniel's lies went back years. Years, and the second woman had no idea she existed either. Emily barely remembers driving home. She said the entire trip felt unreal, like her brain refused to process what she had just seen. At one point, she actually pulled over beside a gas station and threw up. That is how hard the shock hit her. Because cheating is one thing, a secret family is something else entirely. And the craziest part? Daniel still came home later that night, pretending everything was normal. Around 11:30, Emily heard his keys jingling near the front door. Then his usual voice. "Tough night. I'm exhausted." Exhausted, Emily said, hearing that almost made her scream. But somehow she stayed calm. Actually calm. That scared her later. Something inside her had snapped completely. Daniel walked into the kitchen, loosening his tie dramatically, then stopped. Emily was sitting at the table in darkness, just staring at him. "You okay?" he asked, and apparently this man looked genuinely confused. That part makes my blood boil. Because he had spent years lying directly into this woman's face, yet still expected sympathy afterward. Emily forced herself to nod. "Just tired," she whispered, and Daniel immediately relaxed. That told her everything. If he suspected even slightly that she knew the truth, he would have panicked. Instead, he kissed her forehead casually and headed upstairs, like nothing happened, like he had not just tucked another woman's children into bed 20 minutes earlier. Emily did not sleep at all that night. Not 1 second. Instead, she started digging, and oh my God, the deeper she looked, the uglier things became. First, she checked their bank statements carefully. Daniel handled most finances, which suddenly seemed very suspicious. Emily discovered monthly withdrawals she never noticed before. Cash withdrawals, hundreds at a time. Then she found payments for another phone, e-plan, another insurance policy, and eventually she uncovered the worst detail yet, a mortgage payment. Daniel was helping pay for that blue house. Emily said her hands started trembling so badly she could barely hold the papers. Because this was not random cheating anymore. This was organized, planned, long-term. The next morning, Daniel acted completely normal again. He drank coffee, complained about traffic, kissed her goodbye before work. Emily watched him leave, feeling like she was staring at a stranger wearing her husband's face. Then she made a decision. She needed answers from the other woman. Not Daniel, because liars lie professionally, but unsuspecting people tell the truth without realizing it. So Emily drove back to the blue house that afternoon. And honestly, she expected hatred, or drama, or screaming. Instead, the woman opened the door smiling politely. "Hi." Emily later said that single moment changed everything, because the woman looked confused, not guilty, not nervous, confused. Which meant one horrifying possibility suddenly became very real. This woman might not know about Emily either, and when Emily finally introduced herself, the color drained completely from the woman's face. Like instantly. Then she whispered 6 words Emily will never forget. "Wait, Daniel is your husband." Emily said the silence after that sentence felt endless. Both women just stood there staring at each other, completely frozen. The blonde woman looked physically sick, like her brain had stopped functioning. Emily finally nodded slowly. Yes. We've been married 9 years. The woman grabbed the doorframe immediately. Actually grabbed it for balance. And suddenly everything clicked into place for both of them at the same time. Daniel had been lying to everyone. The woman introduced herself as Rachel, 34 years old, elementary school teacher, 2 children, and according to Rachel, she had been with Daniel for almost 6 years. 6 years. Emily said, hearing that felt like getting punched directly in the chest, because that meant Daniel started the second relationship while still sleeping beside his wife every night. Rachel kept shaking her head repeatedly. No, 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 no. He told me his ex-wife was abusive. Of course he did. These men always recycle the same script. Rachel explained that Daniel Clayton, his crazy ex, refused to finalize their divorce. He said they only stayed legally married because of financial complications. Meanwhile, he told Emily work stress explained his constant absence, double manipulation, double lies, and somehow he balanced both lives for years. Emily asked the question everybody would ask. How often does he stay here? Rachel looked confused again. Most nights. Most nights. Emily actually laughed when she heard that, not because it was funny. Because sometimes pain becomes so extreme your body reacts wrong. Most nights. Meanwhile, Emily spent years eating dinner alone believing her husband was trapped in meetings. Rachel eventually invited Emily inside. And honestly, that part destroyed her even more. Because the house was filled with Daniel everywhere. Family photos on the walls. Daniel holding the kids at Disney World. Daniel grilling burgers in the backyard. Daniel wearing matching Christmas pajamas beside Rachel on the couch. Whole memories, whole traditions, whole experiences Emily never knew existed. It was like walking through an alternate reality. And then Emily noticed something else. The little girl from last night. She looked exactly like Daniel. Same eyes, same smile. That child was definitely his. Rachel finally broke down crying at the kitchen table. Huge gasping sobs. I swear to God, I didn't know. And Emily believed her instantly. You can tell when somebody is genuinely blindsided. Rachel started revealing more details. Daniel traveled with them, spent holidays there, told the children he worked long hours downtown. Everything overlapped perfectly. The lies were calculated carefully. Like this man maintained 2 separate timelines inside his head. Then Rachel said something terrifying. He told me he wanted another baby next year. Emily said, hearing that made her skin crawl. Because while Daniel planned a future with Rachel, he still came home every weekend pretending to repair his marriage with Emily. Absolute psychopath behavior. The 2 women ended up talking for nearly 3 hours, comparing stories, comparing dates, comparing lies. And every single detail exposed Daniel further, but then Rachel accidentally revealed one final secret, one that made Emily realize the situation was even darker than she first believed. Because Daniel was not just emotionally lying to both families, he was financially destroying them too. Rachel disappeared upstairs for a minute, then came back carrying a thick folder, bills, loan paperwork, credit card statements, and Emily immediately felt dread crawling up her spine. Rachel sat down slowly at the kitchen table. He said business was struggling, she whispered. Emily frowned instantly. Business? Daniel worked a regular office job. What business? Rachel opened the folder with trembling hands. Apparently, Daniel told her he was secretly building a consulting company on the side. He claimed he needed financial help temporarily until investors came through. And Rachel believed him, because of course she did. She thought this man was her husband in every way except legally. Over the last 3 years, Rachel had taken loans for him, big ones, personal loans, credit cards, even a second mortgage extension on the house. Emily felt physically cold hearing this. How much? She asked quietly. Rachel looked down at the papers. Almost $90,000. 90,000. Emily actually stopped breathing for a second because suddenly pieces started connecting inside her head. Their savings account had been shrinking for years. Daniel always blamed inflation, unexpected expenses, taxes. Now the truth stood right in front of her. This man had been draining money from both households simultaneously, and it got even worse. Rachel revealed Daniel also convinced her to put multiple utilities under her name because his credit score was temporarily damaged. Emily almost laughed again, not from humor, from disbelief. This man operated like a full-time scam artist. Then Emily quietly asked the question haunting her mind. Do the kids know him as their father? Rachel nodded immediately. The younger child definitely was his biologically. But the older boy came from Rachel's previous relationship. Daniel had stepped into that father role years earlier. Emily looked toward the living room where toys covered the carpet. Those children were innocent, completely innocent. And eventually their entire world was going to collapse too. Rachel suddenly covered her face, crying harder. Oh my God, I defended him. Apparently Rachel's own sister once questioned Daniel's behavior. Said he disappeared strangely sometimes. Rachel fought with her over it. Stopped speaking to her for almost 8 months. That part hurt badly, because manipulation isolates people. Good liars make victims defend them publicly. Emily understood that feeling too well. She spent months convincing herself Daniel was simply overworked. Meanwhile, this man maintained 2 separate homes like some low-budget criminal mastermind. Eventually, Rachel looked up with swollen red eyes. What do we do now? And honestly, that was the moment everything shifted. Because until then, Emily felt shattered, humiliated, but suddenly she felt angry instead. Very angry. Not just for herself, for Rachel too, for those kids, for every lie, every stolen year, every fake apology after coming home late smelling like another family's laundry detergent. Emily leaned forward slowly. We ruin him! Rachel blinked. Emily repeated herself calmly. We expose everything. And according to Emily, Rachel's expression changed immediately, because pain can break people. But shared betrayal, sometimes it creates allies. And together, these 2 women started planning something Daniel never saw coming. For the next week, Emily and Rachel pretend everything was normal. And honestly, that was probably the hardest part. Emily still slept beside Daniel every night. Still made coffee beside him every morning. Still listened to him complain about fake meetings and fake clients. Meanwhile, Rachel continued texting him heart emojis while secretly forwarding every message directly to Emily. The amount of lying this man did daily was insane. Actually insane. At one point, Daniel told Emily he needed to travel overnight for a conference. 10 minutes later, he texted Rachel asking what pizza the kids wanted for movie night. Like he switched identities effortlessly. Emily said watching it happen in real time made her nauseous, but the women stayed patient because they wanted proof, not emotional screaming. Proof, and oh boy, they collected everything. Screenshots, bank records, photos, text messages, voicemails, even hotel receipts. Rachel also discovered Daniel used her social security information on multiple financial applications without permission. That detail changed everything legally, because now fraud entered the picture too. Meanwhile, Daniel remained completely oblivious, which honestly says a lot about arrogant people. He never imagined the 2 women communicating. Never. Why would he? His entire system depended on isolation. Keep both women separate. Keep both women doubting themselves. Keep control through confusion. Classic manipulation. Then Emily uncovered something that nearly pushed her over the edge. Daniel had been telling coworkers Emily struggled mentally. Seriously. One of Daniel's office friends accidentally revealed it during casual conversation. Oh wow! Emily seems much happier lately, the man said awkwardly. Emily frowned immediately. What do you mean? The coworker hesitated. Then realized too late he messed up. Apparently Daniel spent months telling people his wife suffered emotional instability from stress. He painted himself as the exhausted, supportive husband carrying everything alone. Emily felt sick hearing it, because now she understood something terrifying. Daniel was preparing backup narratives, just in case. If Emily ever discovered the truth, he already planted seeds making her look irrational. That level of calculation is horrifying. And honestly, it made Emily stop mourning the marriage completely. After that moment, she stopped seeing Daniel as her husband. He became an enemy. Simple as that. So the women finalized their plan carefully. And trust me, this revenge was surgical. First, Rachel quietly contacted a lawyer. Then Emily did the same. Both attorneys immediately advised gathering financial documentation, which turned out smart because Daniel's debt situation was catastrophic. Secret credit cards, hidden loans, missed tax payments. Apparently, this man spent years juggling financial disasters between both households while pretending success everywhere. It was basically emotional fraud mixed with financial collapse. Then came the final piece, the exposure. Emily wanted everyone present, not just family, everybody, friends, parents, co-workers. anyone Daniel manipulated, so they picked the perfect moment, Daniel's birthday barbecue, 2 weeks away. And according to Emily, Daniel spent those 2 weeks happier than ever, completely relaxed, laughing constantly, kissing both women goodbye on different days while secretly drowning in lies. He had absolutely no idea his entire life was about to explode publicly. And when that birthday final, LY, arrived, oh my god, what happened next sounded straight out of a movie. Daniel's birthday barbecue started at 3 in the afternoon. Sunny weather, loud music, cheap beer in coolers, normal suburban party vibes. Neighbors wandered around carrying paper plates while Daniel stood near the grill, acting like the king of the neighborhood. Emily said watching him laugh that day felt surreal, because this man truly believed he controlled the situation completely. Meanwhile, his entire life sat seconds away from collapse. Daniel's parents arrived first, then co-workers, then cousins, around 30 people total. And Daniel soaked up every second of attention. He hugged people dramatically, made jokes constantly, played perfect husband beside Emily. At one point, he wrapped an arm around her waist and whispered, "Thanks for doing all this for me." Emily nearly lost composure right there, but she stayed calm, because revenge works better cold. Around 4:30, Daniel noticed Emily checking her phone repeatedly. "You waiting on somebody?" he asked casually. Emily smiled. "Yeah." And right on cue, a silver SUV pulled into the driveway. Daniel glanced over, casually at first, then froze instantly, completely froze, because Rachel stepped out, and behind her came the 2 children. Emily said the color vanished from Daniel's face so fast it honestly scared her, like his body short-circuited. For 2 whole seconds nobody moved. Then, Rachel calmly walked toward the backyard holding a folder under her arm. The little girl spotted Daniel immediately. "Daddy!" The entire party went silent, actually silent. You could hear the music from 3 houses away. Daniel looked like he might faint. His mother frowned instantly. "Daddy?" she repeated slowly. And oh my god, the panic on Daniel's face was incredible. He started walking toward Rachel quickly. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. But Rachel stepped backward immediately. "No," she said loudly. "We are not doing private lies anymore." Everybody stared. Co-workers, family, neighbors. Complete silence. Then Emily stood up beside the patio table calmly, and this woman delivered the coldest line imaginable. "Go ahead, Daniel. Introduce your second family." Absolute nuclear strike. People started talking instantly. Confused whispers everywhere. Daniel tried recover. Immediately. "Emily, babe, this isn't what you think." Oh my god, that sentence. The audacity. Rachel actually laughed bitterly hearing it. "Really? Because you told me she was the crazy ex-wife." Daniel's father suddenly stood up aggressively. "What the hell is happening?" And then everything exploded. Rachel opened the folder. Photos first, pictures of vacations, Christmas mornings, birthday parties. Then Emily started placing financial records across the patio table. Bank transfers, loan documents, mortgage payments. Every lie laid out publicly like evidence in court. Daniel kept trying, interrupting desperately. "Please, let me explain." But nobody listened anymore, because the truth was obvious, painfully obvious. Then came the final blow. Rachel looked directly at Daniel's parents and quietly said, "Your granddaughter turns 5 next month." Daniel's mother burst into tears immediately. Meanwhile, Daniel just stood there trapped. No lies left, no escape route. Just 2 devastated women, 2 confused children, and 30 horrified witnesses watching his fake life burn down in real time. Daniel completely unraveled after that. Not dramatic way at first. Actually, the opposite. He started begging quietly, like a man realizing the floor beneath him disappeared. "Please, everybody calm down. Calm down." His mother was crying into a patio napkin. His father looked ready to swing at him. Rachel stood shaking beside the kids. And Emily said she felt strangely peaceful, because once the truth finally surfaces, the anxiety dies instantly. There is nothing left to fear anymore. Daniel tried grabbing Emily's arm. She pulled away immediately. "Don't touch me." That sentence hit harder than screaming ever could. Then one of Daniel's co-workers suddenly spoke up. "Wait, you were married this whole time." Apparently, Daniel introduced Rachel to some office people as his actual partner. Different audiences, different realities depending on the room. Honestly, terrifying behavior. The barbecue dissolved into chaos fast. Neighbors quietly left first. Then extended relatives started arguing loudly near the fence. Daniel's aunt kept yelling, "How could you do this to those children?" Meanwhile, the older boy clung tightly to Rachel's side, looking terrified. That part broke Emily's heart later. Because kids always absorb the emotional damage adults create, Daniel finally snapped under pressure. And this part tells you everything about his personality. Instead of apologizing sincerely, he started blaming everyone else. "I was under pressure. I never meant for this to happen. You both pushed me away." Classic. Absolutely classic. Emily said hearing that erased every remaining ounce of love instantly. Because even now, exposed publicly, this man still refused accountability. Rachel looked disgusted. "You had 6 years to tell the truth." Daniel ran both hands through his hair desperately. "I loved both of you." "Oh my God. You loved control. You loved attention. You loved living separate fantasy lives while women sacrificed everything around you. That is not love. That is selfishness wearing romantic language." Then Emily dropped the final bomb publicly. "Oh, and maybe explain the $90,000 too." The entire backyard went silent again. Daniel's eyes widened instantly. Rachel pulled out the financial documents. Loans, credit cards, debt balances, even forged signatures. Daniel's father grabbed the paperwork next, and apparently the man looked horrified. "What the hell have you done?" Turns out Daniel borrowed money from his own parents too. "Oh, thousands." Claimed Emily had medical expenses. Complete lie. This man treated every relationship like an ATM machine attached to emotional manipulation. Eventually, Rachel took the children home. Honestly, smart decision. They did not need witnessing the rest. Before leaving, she looked directly at Emily. And without speaking, both women understood something important. They survived him. Together. Meanwhile, Daniel's world kept collapsing publicly behind them. By evening, almost everybody had left, except Daniel's parents. And according to Emily, his father delivered one sentence that absolutely shattered him. "You are not the son I raised." Then they walked out too. Just like that. Daniel stood alone in the destroyed backyard, surrounded by empty beer bottles and scattered financial paperwork. And for the first time in years, nobody believed a single word coming out of his mouth. But trust me, the real consequences had not even started yet. The morning after the barbecue felt eerie, too quiet. Emily woke up around 6 automatically. For one confused second, she forgot everything happened. Then she rolled over. Daniel was gone. Not just from the bed. Gone. Completely. His closet sat half empty. Bathroom drawer cleared out. Phone disconnected. Coward move. Absolute coward move. Emily later discovered Daniel checked into a cheap motel outside town immediately after the exposure. Apparently, he spent the entire night calling people desperately trying to control the damage. But the problem with lies is simple. Once truth cracks through, everything collapses fast, especially in small communities. By noon, almost everybody knew. Neighbors talked, co-workers talked, family members definitely talked, and honestly, most people were horrified by the financial manipulation more than the cheating. Because cheating destroys trust, but draining 2 households financially while lying to children, that feels predatory. Emily spent the next week handling pure chaos. Lawyers, bank calls, account freezes, credit investigations. Apparently, Daniel secretly opened 2 credit cards using shared marital information without properly informing her. One balance alone exceeded $20,000. Meanwhile, Rachel uncovered even more debt connected to her address. The man practically built his second life entirely on borrowed money and deception. Then came the biggest shock. Daniel lost his job. Fast. One of the barbecue guests apparently contacted his company's HR department directly. And honestly, normally I would say workplace involvement crosses a line. But apparently Daniel used company resources during several financial scams, including fake expense reimbursements. So once internal investigators started digging, things got ugly quickly. Very ugly. Emily heard through mutual friends that Daniel practically begged his manager for another chance. Didn't matter. He got terminated within days. And suddenly reality hit him hard. No wife, no second household, no stable income, massive debt everywhere, destroyed reputation. Exactly the mess he created himself. Meanwhile, Emily and Rachel slowly stayed in contact. Not constantly, but enough. Trauma creates strange bonds between people, especially shared betrayal. Rachel admitted something heartbreaking one evening. I still miss him sometimes. And honestly, that is normal. People think victims stop loving someone instantly after betrayal. That is not how human emotions work. You mourn the person you thought existed, even if that person never truly existed at all. Emily understood perfectly. Some nights she still instinctively reached for Daniel's side of the bed, then remembered the truth again. That grief hits repeatedly, like emotional whiplash. But despite the pain, both women kept moving forward. And then Daniel made one final desperate mistake, a huge one, because about 3 weeks later, Emily received a voicemail at 2 in the morning. Daniel was drunk, very drunk, crying heavily, begging her to talk, saying he made mistakes, but then his tone changed suddenly. Angry, bitter. And right there on voicemail, Daniel accidentally admitted something catastrophic legally, something both lawyers immediately became very interested in the next morning, because Daniel finally confessed he intentionally manipulated financial documents between both households, meaning this was no longer just emotional betrayal. Now there was evidence of deliberate fraud too, and once lawyers got involved properly, Daniel's situation became an absolute nightmare. Emily saved the voicemail immediately, then sent copies everywhere. Her lawyer, Rachel's lawyer, even backup cloud storage, because somebody starts panicking, evidence mysteriously disappears sometimes. And honestly, Daniel sounded completely unstable in that recording, half crying, half raging. At one point he blamed Emily for ruining his life, which is wild considering he secretly destroyed 2 families himself. Then came the admission. I moved money around because I had no choice. No choice. Apparently fraud just accidentally happens now. Emily's lawyer almost sounded excited hearing it, because proving intentional financial deception usually takes months. Daniel basically handed them evidence personally at 2 in the morning while drunk. Incredible. Then investigators started uncovering even more problems. Apparently, Daniel forged parts of Rachel's electronic signature on one refinancing application. That alone carried serious consequences. Meanwhile, tax discrepancies surfaced too. Turns out Daniel underreported income multiple years while secretly transferring funds between accounts. This man built his entire existence like a collapsing Jenga tower, and now every block started falling simultaneously. Emily eventually met Daniel one final time in person, not emotionally, legally. Their attorneys arranged it at a neutral office downtown. Emily said seeing him again felt disturbing. He looked awful, unshaven, exhausted, smaller somehow, like reality physically drained him. Daniel tried speaking privately before the meeting began. Please, just hear me out. Emily stared at him coldly. You had years to talk honestly. That shut him up instantly. The meeting itself lasted nearly 3 hours, mostly financial division, debt responsibility, asset disclosures, and honestly, Daniel looked terrified the entire time. Because he finally understood something. Neither woman was protecting him anymore. No emotional shielding, no excuses, no silence, just consequences. Rachel joined part of the meeting remotely through video call. And according to Emily, Daniel could barely look at either woman directly. Good, he should not have been comfortable. Then came the biggest blow financially. Since much of the hidden debt connected directly to Daniel's deception, multiple liabilities stayed attached solely to him after legal review. Credit damage, personal loans, fraud investigations, tax penalties, everything piled up brutally. Emily later let on Daniel attempted borrowing money from relatives afterward. Nobody agreed, not one person. His reputation completely collapsed. And honestly, reputations matter, especially when your entire personality depended on appearing respectable. Meanwhile, Emily slowly rebuilt her life. Therapy helped a lot. She also sold the house eventually.
Too many memories there. Too many lies sitting inside those walls.
Rachel focused on protecting the children emotionally. Apparently, he stopped calling Daniel Dad almost immediately after learning pieces of the truth. That part hurt everybody involved, even Emily, because children should never pay for adult selfishness. Then one afternoon, nearly 6 months later, Emily received one final update about Daniel from a mutual acquaintance. And honestly, the karma felt almost cinematic, because after losing both families, his job, and most financial stability, Daniel ended up living alone in a tiny rented apartment while drowning in debt collectors, completely isolated. Exactly the opposite of the double life he once controlled so carefully. Play stupid games, win catastrophic prizes. Wow, just wow. I genuinely need a second after that one. Because this story is not normal cheating drama. This is full double life insanity. And honestly, the scariest part is how ordinary Daniel looked. That is what always gets me with stories like these. People imagine liars looking suspicious constantly, but most of them look completely average. Friendly neighbor energy, corporate office energy, little league dad energy. Meanwhile, entire secret realities exist underneath. Absolutely terrifying. Now, personally, I think Emily and Rachel handled this perfectly. Seriously, no physical fighting, no property destruction, no dramatic social media meltdowns, just evidence, patience, and a public truth bomb strong enough to destroy every lie simultaneously. That is elite revenge. Also, can we talk about how manipulative Daniel actually was? Because this man did not simply cheat emotionally. He built psychological systems around both women, different stories, different identities, different victim narratives. He practically ran parallel universes. And unfortunately, people like this survive through isolation. That is why he losing control the moment both women communicate. D makes complete sense. Manipulators panic when victims compare notes, always. Now the community online had very strong opinions about this story, and honestly, some of these comments were brutal. Top comment said, "Imagine lying so much you need a calendar to remember which fake personality you used yesterday." Honestly, accurate, another person wrote. "The showering before coming home detail gave me chills. Her intuition knew before her brain accepted it." And that comment hit hard, because intuition matters. People ignore themselves constantly trying to appear reasonable. Meanwhile, their nervous system already senses danger. Another commenter said, "My dad lived a double life too. Different state, different family. We found out at his funeral." Okay, that one actually devastated me. Can you imagine discovering siblings during funeral arrangements? Human beings are unbelievable sometimes. Then somebody else added, "The children are the real victims here, especially the older boy who trusted him completely." Absolutely. That part stayed with me longest, honestly, because adults eventually heal, but children internalize betrayal differently, especially pair natal betrayal. Another comment absolutely destroyed Daniel though. This person wrote, "Bro wanted two households on one salary during this economy. Criminal confidence. I am not proud of laughing at that. But come on, the financial audacity alone deserves scientific study." And finally, my favorite comment simply said, "He lost two women, four parents, his kids, his job, his money, and his reputation. All because he refused one honest conversation years ago." Exactly. That is the whole tragedy right there. One truthful conversation could have prevented total destruction. Instead, he chose years of manipulation, and eventually consequences arrived all at once. But guys, you are not going to believe what happened next, because there actually was another update months later, and somehow Daniel managed to embarrass himself even further, which honestly feels impossible after everything we already heard. But trust me, this man was not done making terrible decisions yet. So about 8 months after the original explosion, Emily posted a final update, and somehow the situation became even messier. Apparently Daniel started contacting people again. Not to apologize, bro, Pearly. Not to take accountability, number. This man wanted sympathy. He began telling mutual friends that Emily and Rachel destroyed his mental health, which honestly takes Olympic-level audacity. You secretly manipulate two families for years, then act shocked when consequences arrive? Absolutely not. But apparently Daniel felt deeply misunderstood. Poor Daniel. According to mutual acquaintances, he spent months bouncing between short-term rentals because collectors kept chasing unpaid balances. His credit score completely collapsed. Several accounts entered legal collections. And since he lost his corporate job, steady income disappeared too. At one point, he apparently tried launching motivational content online. I swear I am not joking. Motivational content. A man who secretly ran two households through lies started posting quotes about healing and personal growth. The internet roasted him instantly, especially after somebody recognized him from Emily's story. That situation died very fast. Then came the part that shocked Emily most. Daniel reached out asking if they could start over slowly. Start over. Sir, you forged documents and created parallel families. This is not a minor communication issue. Emily said reading that text actually made her laugh for the first time in months. Because the delusion was unbelievable. Then Rachel received something similar. Daniel claimed he missed the children deeply and wanted another chance at stability. Rachel shut that down immediately. And honestly, good. Because trust once destroyed at that level rarely returns safely, especially around children. Meanwhile, both women slowly rebuilt real lives. Emily moved into a smaller townhouse closer to her sister, started traveling more, made new friends, even adopted a rescue dog named Murphy, and according to her final update, Murphy became weirdly protective whenever men approached the front door. Honestly, valid dog behavior. Rachel focused heavily on therapy for herself and the kids. The older boy eventually started baseball again after months withdrawing emotionally. That detail made people really happy online. Because recovery matters too, not just revenge. And here is something surprisingly mature. Emily said she no longer hated Rachel at all. In fact, she considered her part of surviving the experience. Shared betrayal created strange understanding between them. Not best friends exactly, but bonded permanently. Which honestly feels healthier than endless bitterness. Then Emily ended her update with one final sentence that absolutely buried Daniel forever. She wrote, "I used to cry wondering why I was never enough for him. Now I understand the truth. Nobody will ever be enough for a person addicted to deception." Mic drop. Absolute mic drop. Some individuals do not destroy relationships because partners fail them.
They destroy relationships because deception itself becomes part of their identity.
They need control, validation, escape, fantasy. And eventually reality catches them anyway. Every single time.
Now, after all that emotional chaos, we definitely need a mood booster story.
Because that first saga was stressful. So let's finish this video with a petty revenge story so satisfying it honestly feels therapeutic. So this next story comes from a guy named Marcus. And honestly, this is the exact kind of petty revenge I live for. Nothing illegal, nothing violent, just pure psychological destruction serve. Ice cold. Marcus worked at a large electronics store in Manchester. Big chain company. Terrible fluorescent lighting. Managers pretending minimum wage jobs are family. You know the type. Marcus actually liked the job at first though, mostly because of his co-workers, except one guy, Trevor. Now Trevor was technically assistant manager, but emotionally, Trevor behaved like a high school bully who accidentally received authority. He constantly embarrassed workers publicly, corrected people loudly in front of customers, made sarcastic comments every 5 minutes. And worst of all, he stole sales constantly. Retail workers will understand immediately why that matters. Commission bonuses depended on sales numbers, so Trevor would hover nearby whenever employees spoke with customers, then suddenly appear at checkout, pretending he helped close the deal, meaning he collected commission money for work other people already did. Slimy behavior. Marcus tolerated it for nearly a year, mostly because he needed the paycheck. But one specific incident changed everything. A young couple entered the store looking for laptops before university semester started. Marcus spent almost 2 hours helping them carefully compare options, budgets, specifications, payment plans, everything. Eventually, the couple purchased 2 expensive laptops plus accessories. Huge sale, like really huge. Marcus finally felt excited because that commission would cover overdue car repairs. Then Trevor swooped in literally seconds before payment completed. Oh, awesome. I'll finalize this one. Marcus just stared at him. Trevor scanned his own employee code casually, smiled, and stole nearly £400 of commission instantly. 400. Marcus confronted him afterward privately, and Trevor actually laughed. "You're too slow, mate." That sentence sat inside Marcus's brain for days. Too slow. Not against policy, not misunderstanding, intentional theft. Then Marcus noticed something interesting. Trevor obsessed over store performance rankings. Obsessed. Every month management posted sales leaderboards publicly near the break room. Trevor worshipped those rankings like sacred scripture. He bragged constantly whenever his numbers climbed, mocked lower performers openly, especially Marcus. And suddenly Marcus realized something beautiful. Trevor's ego depended completely on those numbers, meaning the perfect revenge would involve humiliating him through the exact thing he valued most. So Marcus started planning carefully, very carefully, because unlike Trevor, Marcus was patient, and patient revenge usually tastes better. Over the next month, Marcus documented everything, every stolen sale, every manipulated commission, every customer interaction Trevor hijacked, dates, times, receipts, security camera references, full evidence trail. But Marcus did not report Trevor immediately. No, 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 that would have been too easy. Instead, he waited for the company's biggest sales event of the entire year, the annual Black Friday competition. And trust me, what Marcus did during that event absolutely destroyed Trevor's ego permanently. Black Friday at electronic stores is complete chaos. Absolute human madness. People fighting over headphones at 6 in the morning. Managers stress sweating through dress shirts. Employees surviving entirely on caffeine and hatred. And Trevor loved every second of it, because Black Friday rankings carried huge bonuses. The top employee received extra commission, plus regional recognition, meaning Trevor became even more unbearable than usual. He strutted around the store like a tiny dictator holding a barcode scanner. Meanwhile, Marcus stayed weirdly calm, which Trevor immediately noticed. "You're finally giving up this year?" Trevor smirked. Marcus smiled politely. "Something like that." Now, here is the important detail. Trevor had one massive weakness. Ego makes people careless, especially arrogant people. During busy shifts, Trevor constantly forced employees to use his manager override credentials for quick transactions. Technically against policy. Very against policy, but Trevor loved speeding through sales dramatically so customers would praise him. Marcus understood this perfectly. So throughout Black Friday weekend, every time Trevor inserted himself into someone else's sale, Marcus quietly documented it carefully. And Trevor stole a lot. Way too much. At one point, Trevor hijacked 3 separate gaming console purchases within 20 minutes. The man practically robbed his own staff publicly. But Marcus waited patiently, because the revenge depended entirely on timing. By Sunday night, rankings finally posted. The break room, and guess who sat at number 1? Trevor, of course. The man acted like he won the Olympics. He actually took selfies beside the leaderboard. I wish I were exaggerating. Meanwhile, Marcus calmly printed one final document package from the office computer, then walked straight into the regional manager's temporary conference room. See, corporate supervisors monitored Black Friday performance in person every year, including commission disputes. Marcus quietly handed over the folder. Every stolen sale, every override misuse, every transaction mismatch, even timestamp comparisons from security footage requests. The regional manager apparently went silent reading through it, then asked one question. "Are you absolutely certain?" Marcus simply nodded. Now remember, Trevor still believed he won. So imagine this scene. Half the staff gathered near the front registers, celebrating surviving Black Friday weekend. Trevor bragging loudly about his record-breaking numbers. Then suddenly, the regional manager walks onto the sales floor holding paperwork and asks Trevor to follow him privately, immediately. Trevor's smile disappeared instantly. Marku S said everybody sensed something was wrong immediately. About 40 minutes later, Trevor came back looking pale. Really pale. No speech, no attitude, no swagger, just silent panic. Then management removed Trevor's name from the leaderboard publicly, right there in front of everyone, and replaced it with updated rankings. Marcus moved to number 1. The store went dead quiet. Trevor looked like somebody punched his soul directly. Then came the finishing blow. The regional manager announced multiple commission adjustments would occur due to serious policy violations. Translation: Trevor had to repay thousands in stolen commissions. Thousands. And honestly, nobody defended him, because everybody hated working with him secretly. Sometimes karma just needs one organized person brave enough to document everything carefully. And Trevor? Oh, his humiliation was only beginning. Trevor lasted exactly 9 more days after Black Friday. 9. Apparently, corporate investigators kept digging deeper after Marcus reported everything, and once they reviewed previous months, oh boy, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Trevor manipulated commissions constantly, not occasionally, constantly. Multiple employees submitted statements afterward too, because once one person speaks up successfully, others finally feel safe enough to tell the truth. That happens all the time. silence protects toxic people, evidence destroys them. Trevor tried denying everything at first, then blamed confusing store procedures, then blamed stressed employees. Classic deflection cycle. But the security footage absolutely buried him, especially because he loved physically inserting himself into final checkout moments. There was literal video evidence showing Marcus handling entire customer interactions while Trevor suddenly appeared for payment processing. Over and over, eventually corporate terminated him quietly. No dramatic speech, no goodbye party, just gone. And honestly, the funniest part happened afterward, because the store atmosphere improved instantly. Immediately, employees laughed more. People actually helped each other again. Turns out one toxic person can poison an entire workplace culture. Who knew? Marcus officially received corrected commissions too, including the laptop sale Trevor stole originally. That money fixed here. Card is completely. And the updated Black Friday bonus covered holiday gifts for his whole family. Meanwhile, Trevor apparently started working at another retail shop across town, but his reputation followed him, because retail employees gossip professionally, especially about awful managers. Marcus said he ran into Trevor months later accidentally at a supermarket, and according to Marcus, Trevor looked furious immediately. Meanwhile, Marcus just smiled politely, then walked away carrying groceries and complete inner peace. Honestly, perfect ending. No screaming, no fighting, just consequences arriving naturally through documentation and patience, which is why I always say this. If somebody mistreats you repeatedly, start keeping receipts. Literally sometimes, because arrogant people usually think nobody notices patterns until somebody finally connects all the dots publicly, and that is exactly what happened here. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Thank you so much for watching. And seriously, if you made it this far, you are officially part of the Chaos Club now. Hit that subscribe button. Save this video for later and let me know in the comments. Hat was worse? Daniel secretly building another family, or Trevor stealing commissions from his own employees for years? Honestly, I cannot even choose. Anyway, take care of yourselves, trust your instincts, and I will see you guys in the next one.